Let me know. Hey guys, Nettie here. Hi droners.
Hey everybody.
The cameraman.
And we're here with Darryl.
Hi, I'm Darryl.
CEO of Action Drones here in San Diego. And
I'm Jameson. I'm the media director at Newbee Drone here where we're having this.
Nice.
yep.
Thanks for being here, you guys. This is really cool.
Thank you so much for allowing us to, interview you guys. And today we're just going to talk drones and sharing it with everybody.
And guys doing the local business thing. I mean, I know there's a lot of you people out there who would love to work full time in small unmanned aircraft systems, and these guys are doing it for real. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I think. Well, I'm John Cooper. Everybody knows who I am.
And I'm Nettie, and it's Ned. And I know you all call me. Everybody thinks it's a dude. It's not. Ned is a girl.
Right.
I'm John Strapp.
And he's a recreational pilot. I'm an advocate for recreational pilots.
I'm a 107 certified pilot as well as Part 91 certified manned aircraft pilot.
Yes, and same here. I'm a 107 pilot. I'm not certified, but I fly really cool little carbon fiber flying robots for fun.
Awesome. I love those.
So this is the best part because we have a mix of everybody. We've got people doing it on the recreational side, people doing it on the professional side, and yeah, that's what we're here to help everybody
Exactly.
to be able to do both, more recreational flying, more 107 flying if that's what you want. But
Yeah.
yeah, these guys are really cool.
And really, the whole point of this, interview, I'm curious. I wanted to find out what's the motivation behind, you all
What we
flying.
do?
Yeah, what we did, what you guys do. So, I guess we'll start with.
Well, I mean, for me, kind of stumbled into the industry. Not that I, went to school and then I'm gonna be a drone company.
Yeah, right. Who did that?
No one.
5 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't do that. So basically, the company grew out of a hobby.
Right.
And just from hobbies alone, I got a lot of requests. I was kind of lucky enough that I was able to start the company when the industry was, unheard of. And we were one of the first companies that other companies called to see if we can solve their problem and using drones to kind of be a part of their workforce.
And this was how long ago was that?
So we started our company in 2013, August.
Right.
But before that, I've been basically messing with, parts, trying to. I didn't even know it was called drones yet. Right.
Right. So what was your first remote controlled aircraft?
Ever since I was younger, probably when I was a kid, I always asked for remote control stuff, or I'll build my own like.
Did you do the balsa model?
I didn't do the balsa model.
Ready to fly.
Well, they get pretty expensive, right? And
Oh yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so I went the cheaper route. I went like kites, and I went with rubber airplanes that you throw and modify it so that it could take off and land. And then when I got a little older and got a little bit of money after college, I bought like toys from Target and all that stuff. And that's really how, I've always been interested in aviation.
So did you build your first quadcopter? Or?
I did. And so there was no parts that you could just buy off the shelf like what it is now. So we actually would look at airplane motors and then put that on a frame that we could find.
Wow.
And then there was no flight controllers back then. This was before DJI had NASA. And so we would actually use whatever it was. And nothing would just fly stable. And then KK2 boards came out, multi-weave boards came out.
Right.
That's when we were able to stabilize the quadcopter. And that's when I was like,
Is that when the obsession really started to kick in?
Does anybody know when DJI started?
Probably around 8 years ago.
Phantom 1 was...
Yeah, when they had... I'm in search of Phantom 1, by the way.
Yeah.
This guy gave us Phantom 2, so...
I remember when the Phantom 1 came out, and that
really
changed the game,
Yeah, for sure.
Had no stabilizer.
They had stabilizer. Oh, you mean the gimbal ones? Yeah, you just attached the
GoPro.
Yeah.
But there was no motors.
Yeah,
it was
no,
like a piece of gel.
You basically just, you have a something to hold your GoPro.
Like
you
a
screw
mount.
it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was revolutionary. I mean,
What
it
was
changed-
your first drone, John?
The Phantom 4. I flew balsa wood airplanes.
You
when I
started
was-
with a Phantom 4.
That was my first one. I bought
Wow.
it.
What was your first drone?
Yes, I did. I got it. You know,
So
Jesus.
my first drone or first RC?
What was your
flying?
first?
First RC,
what-
yeah.
So
Remote
the
control.
first flying remote control thing I had was a gas helicopter. It was
Oh,
the
nice.
Thunder Tiger Raptor 50, which is like a pretty big, legitimate like 3D heli.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, and that was when I
Wow.
was like 13, and that was pretty intense because, that's like that was back in like the days of Windows XP. So it's like really, really
Oh,
old.
that'll send somebody to the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, someone died off.
Yeah. I mean, you got these
Oh my
big, giant,
God.
carbon fiber.
Exactly.
rollerblades,
They weren't
Yeah.
messing around back then.
Yeah.
And then basically the whole thing didn't want to fly, and it just kind of beat the air into submission to get up there.
Well, the helis, they don't have flight controllers like drones do now. They just have a receiver that all your servos and stuff plug in, and the controls are exactly the same. You got your throttle, your yaw, and your forward, backward, side. So it was all manually controlled. But the thing that was cool is when they had kind of computer controlled gyros, so that way you could you turn the yaw, so the helicopter would turn, and then whenever you turn it, left it and held that. But the older ones, they didn't. As you'd give it more throttle, it'd want to turn, so you have to manually regulate that as you're flying.
That looks like a very complicated control.
Do you still have that helicopter?
No. So
what was
so the thing about that was that stuff is really expensive, like the gas ones especially. This was
Oh,
before they had
really?
electric helis and all that. Yeah, like you'd build one up and it'd be like $1,400-$1,600, and then you do.
Are you serious?
just
Yeah.
the gas was like a crazy
Wow.
amount.
Yeah,
just
like
the
one
maintenance.
gas like the gas. It was made by I believe the company's called OS Geiken.
Right.
And like I remember the motor, it was like a
Really
OS Hyper
old school
50 or something like that, and the motor alone was like $300 just for the actual
Well, I
motor,
believe it,
and you
yeah.
still got to get a muffler and
Yeah.
all the other stuff. But yeah, I had one crash with it, and then like just in like repair parts because it's a big heavy thing, and you have this giant spinning rotor blade that's going at thousands of RPM. So when that thing hits, like it torques everything and just rips it apart. So it's like $400 just in parts to repair it. So like when I'm 13, it's not like a viable thing to afford.
Right.
No, a lot of
So it was like a hobby I did with my dad, but like after a few crashes, like
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm
Go
done.
back to that.
So that's how you got started?
Yeah, and then I kind of took a break from RC stuff for a while, and I kind of concentrated more on car stuff. Do you want me to kind of segue into how I got into actual?
So were you building your own cars though at that?
So after that, I just got like interested in cars in general, doing like repair and all that stuff in high school, and then I went to college for automotive engineering, and then after that, I started working for Subaru. And
Wow.
well, fast forward to
Mhm.
2013. That's when I actually got into like these kind of drones. And I remember my first quad I bought was a 5-inch that's made by Get FPV or Lumineer. It was a QAV 5-inch 210, and it's the thing where you buy the whole carbon fiber frame, you buy the motors, you buy the ESCs, the flight controller, the VTX, everything separately. And back in 2013, there wasn't like YouTube resources where you could like find someone doing a complete build. It was so new that those just resources didn't exist. So you would like people would have videos of them flying, but that was it. They just have like the GoPro footage where they slap a GoPro. So you'd like look at people's parts list and you try and copy stuff, and then you'd like try and message them and like bug them, please tell me how it works and stuff.
The community was so small back then.
Yeah, it's crazy how
Yeah.
different it is now. Like there's so
Yeah,
many
now
sites
it's
and
all
YouTube videos that
over.
take every
It's
single
so
step.
popular,
Yeah, like if you want to learn how to do it, you can learn how to build it in a day. There's so many free resources.
And any questions you have, you just ask in a forum, and all.
Yeah, like I
magic
remember-
answers
I know.
show up.
I
This
bought-
thing called Facebook.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but, I mean before that there was no like official Facebook page for
No,
anyone.
yeah, not that I, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
and so then kind of how I'm with Newbee Drone now is so I did that, and I actually needed to buy a new Tyrannus, which is the same radio as you see right here,
Right.
and they were sold out everywhere. So one of my good friends in the industry, Mr. Steele, he's like one of the more popular FPV pilots. He was like, hey, this site Newbee Drone, they have the radios right now. Everyone else is out of stock. So I ordered one, and it came like the next day. Like I don't know why it was so fast, but I sent an email to like info@newbeedrone.com. And I was like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much, because
That's awesome.
a lot of the places, because it was such a new industry, like the customer service and all that wasn't like solidified yet.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
it wasn't built up to the infrastructure it is now. So I was like super appreciative of it. And the guy messaged me back. He's like, "Oh, who was the current owner at the time?" And he's like, "Oh, hey, thanks a lot. You know, do you fly?" And basically, I sent him a few of my YouTube videos of me flying my setup, and he really liked it. So we kind of became friends. And eventually, they sponsored me as like a team pilot. So they like send me gear and stuff, and I keep doing videos. And then that happened for a few years, and then eventually got to the point where I was doing so much YouTube and like media stuff like that, social media, and getting to know a lot of people in the industry that Newbee Drone started growing too. And it got to the point where they wanted to hire me full time as their media director to handle all that day-to-day stuff here. So
I see. Okay.
yeah, they finally
Cool.
made me an offer I liked, and I moved from Las Vegas, and I've been working here at Newbee Drone for like 8 to 9 months now.
Awesome.
Wow.
And Newbee Drone's been in business for how long?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Cool. They make these little cuties.
Yeah, so those are our Acrobee.
Tell us about this.
Yeah, so these are our Acrobee little ready to fly, or you can build it yourself drones. A lot of you may know these as Tiny Whoops, as the original name was kind of coined from. But basically, these are like what we like to use to segue people into the industry. So what's great about these is they're relatively cheap. Like you can get the full ready to fly set for $100 versus like big stuff like this, which is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. These are relatively safe because they have these little ducks that go around the props. You can like hit them into people's face. Not that I
It
recommend
doesn't-
that.
Right, right.
Or like around pets and stuff, and it's not gonna hurt. Or
it
you can
doesn't hurt.
hit it into walls and the thing doesn't smash into a bunch of pieces.
We don't condone crashing drones into people.
Yeah, no.
Now what about those? Would those cut fingers?
Yes, yeah. These,
Yes.
so these are literally spinning knives. So like,
Okay.
if you have these at even like probably mid throttle and you put your that will cut your finger in half.
That's what I figured.
It's
yeah.
no joke. Yeah, they're pretty safe. And it's
So now you guys make all these here, right?
so these two we don't make. These two are some kind of personal builds I just started working on.
Nice.
We do sell a lot of the components in these, like this one, the flight controller board that controls all the motor speed and everything. We sell components like that. We also have our own 5-inch kits like this. I just don't have them right here. We have one called the Leviathan and the Silverfish. So those are some that we branded. But like,
The
Yeah.
5-inch, that they go to by millimeter or inches?
so when we say 5-inch, it's by measuring the diameter of the prop you're using.
The diameter.
Exactly.
Yeah, so and then the whole frame is based around that by how close it can get without hitting the frame.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So
That makes sense.
so like when I was saying earlier when I had my Lumineer QAV 210, that's millimeters, so that's like from arm to arm, diagonally how far it
Okay.
is. So,
That's,
but most everyone just says like the 5-inch version or the 4-inch, so that way you know what props go on it.
so if somebody wants to get into FPV flying
Racing,
as
drones.
easily as possible and without a lot of soldering and
Technical
that kind of thing,
yeah.
would you
This
recommend more like this?
Yeah,
or,
absolutely this, because this has the exact same flying characteristics. The controls are exactly the same as something like this. Obviously, it's not going to be as fast or as powerful.
So this is what I would want to start with
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a
exactly.
beginner.
So, and everything on this, there's no solder. If you buy it in the kit,
Get the
everything
camera,
is
the
plug and
camera.
play. Like if you look on the bottom where all the motors plug in, it's just simple little plug-in things. Even the camera.
Right.
in the
Oh,
front.
I see.
So
okay,
you don't
I
need to
see
have a
that.
soldering iron or
Yeah.
worry about knowing how to
That's
do wiring.
awesome.
Yeah, everything just goes in place. And even if you don't want to do that, we sell them in bind and fly kits.
Mhm.
So basically, it comes exactly like this. You plug in your battery, you bind it to your radio, and then start
You're
flying.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
Awesome,
the other thing. What
awesome.
else is what's the minimum amount of equipment you have to have besides the drone?
Okay, so you need the drone. You need a radio transmitter to control it. Obviously, you don't need one this complicated or expensive.
I don't want that.
Yeah, we sell
That's
ones
so
for like
complicated.
$40 that are like basic and it has all the same controls you would need.
Mhm.
And then you need your-
40, really? That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I mean they're not as nice, but
No,
But I would think though, I think it makes sense for them to invest in a radio like this because if
Oh,
you're gonna
absolutely,
graduate,
yeah.
this radio can hold. I mean, how many models? 50.
yeah,
So
50.
quite a few.
So you only need to buy one radio
Yeah,
and it controls
I mean,
your entire
it's
fleet.
it's smarter to buy, in my opinion, it's smarter to buy something that will grow with you.
Yeah.
You know, because when
I
you,
agree,
if
yeah.
you buy a cheap little radio that you're using to fly these,
Mhm.
if you use that to fly something like that, it's going to be a horrible experience.
Exactly.
The resolution on the gimbals is
Gonna
not going to be
have
the
a bad
same.
I don't even want to imagine that.
Right?
Yeah, and then the last main thing you need, aside from like a charger and batteries, is
The
your video
goggles?
goggles.
Yeah.
So they come in a lot of different forms. The ones that were kind of popular in the very beginning were the big box goggles,
Mhm.
where it's kind of like a big rectangular they'd have one flat screen and then just like a shell around it so you could hang it on the face.
So those are Newbee Drone brand?
No. So
they're
these
Fat
are
Shark.
yeah, these are made by Fat Shark. These are
Okay.
kind of the
Yeah,
the
I'm
industry
familiar with Fat Shark.
industry standard. I just have a Newbee Drone
I love it.
strap on it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these are the HD3s, which up until like a few weeks ago were like the top of the line models. These are like a $500 goggle, but
I know.
we
cheap.
sell kind of smaller box goggles that again start at like $40, and that's more than enough for something like this.
Mhm.
But these last long too, and you can change the module. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to upgrade it, it's kind of
So it's I
Again,
see. So
you buy
it's,
yeah.
one nice pair of
upgradable.
goggles. And you don't
Yeah,
have
so
to
like
buy
it
any more.
comes as the basic goggles, and then you can get a basic receiver in there, and then it'll have one antenna. But then you can buy these upgraded receivers, and this is a diversity. So
right.
what's cool about something like this is you have your Omni antenna. So this will give you a 360-degree angle for picking up video signal.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's just not that far. And then
Right.
you have a patch antenna, which sends a very far signal in one general
Oh, that's
direction.
what it does.
So like if I'm out doing freestyle flying and I want to go dive this giant building and it's really far, the patch antenna will pick up the video a lot better. But if I go and I fly around me or something, obviously this would not be as good. And then the Omni one, which is 360 degrees, that will pick it up if it's around me. So it switches to whichever one has the better video signal.
Yeah.
Okay, so which lead me to this next question: where do you guys fly these things, and where do you fly? Because I know
Oh yeah, I've got a
about
good questions about that. that's for
Darryl's
sure.
location in Chula Vista, which is about 3,500 acres.
370 acres.
Oh, 370 acres.
Big
sorry,
difference, Nettie.
370 acres. You know, worth of lands, and it's just fabulous. So tell us.
Well,
and
FAA
who's
just
allowed to go there? Why am I not allowed to go there? In practice?
well, FAA just approved Chula Vista as a test site, an official test site. It's
Well,
one of the 10.
Exactly. So all of San Diego is a UAS
Right.
integration
test site.
test
IPP.
city.
Yeah.
And
is what it's called.
you're very involved in that, correct?
Well, we actually were the first ones to request for land to test drones, right? And so the Chula Vista test site was one of the ones that we leased. So we leased it through the city, and we've been testing there for almost 3.5 years now. And what we've realized, the city realized, is that there's really a need for a test site because all these drone companies in the city of San Diego need a place to actually test their technology.
Right.
So
They need a place to be able to crash safely. let's just
right, crash safely, or kind of just not be bothered by like
say. Right.
onlookers, because
Yeah,
a lot of our technology will interfere with, like for example, if there's a hobbyist that come in and fly, it won't affect us, but it'll affect them, and their drone will crash,
Oh.
and or
Exactly.
vice versa, or our
Yeah,
drones can crash.
yeah.
But our problem would be bigger than their problem, and so we really needed a way to protect that. And so we leased that, and then the city kept going forward. The county of San Diego, the city of San Diego also realized that there's a need for other test sites in the area, not just Chula Vista. So there's 4 locations or 5 locations in San Diego that is approved by the FAA. UCSD area is one of them.
Yeah, UCSD, I heard. Yeah, I heard about that.
There's parts in downtown that's actually approved. There's East County, and then there's Chula Vista.
There's
and-
one downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. You know that? I didn't
Yeah.
know.
So-
No,
Good
this
to
is
know.
all.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know if
Your
I'm
facility is the first one I've heard of,
Yeah.
and you seems to be fairly unique in the
It
United
is.
States.
Now,
It
do you guys practice over there? Can you fly your drones over there?
So I haven't been to his specific location. I would imagine it's probably going to fall under the same class of being allowed because these are a little smaller and lighter than like a Phantom setup, but kind of in terms of where we fly stuff, like obviously small stuff like this, it's under. I think the FAA thing is like if it's under like 0.55
Right.
pounds,
Yeah.
then you
exactly.
don't need a.
You don't have
Yeah,
to
license.
register
Right,
it.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it's legitimately like a toy, you know, like so we
Plastic
fly these
doesn't-
in the
yeah.
office, and then.
But you guys have
also-
versions of this that's less than 250 grams. That can fly pretty fast too.
Yeah. So for stuff like this, this one is specifically a racing only kind of frame. So we have race events we actually go to. So we'll have like pre-registered areas, and it's all like backed by the AMA and stuff like that. So like
Oh,
we'll go
okay.
to like a park,
Right.
and we'll get permission to use that part of the land for that day and stuff like that. But then when you're dealing with kind of freestyle frames like this is basically, I don't want to say like a no man's law kind of thing, but basically, obviously we don't go where there's like it could accidentally hit someone or someone's car or property. We'll go to like a few exits down. There's just like a big.
This has weight to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it comes down to whether you're flying a kite or a racing drone or a giant airplane. You fly so that if anything happens, you're not gonna, endanger anybody. And the main difference between the racing drone and, a Phantom or that kind of thing is if you take your hands off of the sticks, you take your thumbs off the sticks, this is gonna go to the ground.
Yeah.
I think the main worry with a autonomous drone is that it's going to lose signal to the controller and it's just going to take off towards the nearest, busy airport. That's what they're really worried about. So again, there's no way this can fly by itself. It doesn't have any kind of GPS capabilities or altitude hold. It's all completely,
It's like flying an RC airplane, So like when we go to like big fields where no one's there, and then people walk by and stuff, and they go, "Oh, is that a drone?" And they kind of get that weirded out kind of thing. But it's like it's literally like I'm flying an RC helicopter or airplane, and if I was doing that, they wouldn't say anything,
Right.
It's just they don't understand because the most of the public and the main part of the industry is all DJI stuff, so they just see like anyone can pick this up and it'll stay, and they can see the HD camera footage. Where they I'm getting like the horrible like analog video of my little goggles.
I think that's part of it too. If they actually saw even the stuff that's coming from a Phantom. If you actually saw what it looks like in my screen, you wouldn't be that worried about it.
And things like these are noisy. Like you would know if.
They're loud.
Yeah.
Are they really loud?
It sounds like a beehive flying over you.
Like loud
Now,
bees.
so with the racing drones, is it the same rules and regulations as far as FAA?
Technically, yeah, but the thing is, they're not going above the tree's height.
Yeah.
I mean, if we tried to police the entire recreational FPV world, I don't think it would be possible. The fact that, again, they're usually setting up a specific course. They want to set up gates. There's a course that they're trying to fly, for time and that kind of thing, and usually just practicing. So they're not just, going to fly. I'm going to take off, that way a mile and see if I lose connection or not. So again, it's everything in the UAS world is so muddy. I mean, I really liken it to what the first pilots in the 30s were going through with, the guy calling, whatever the FAA was, and hey, Wilbur's, flight scarf isn't regulation flight scarf, or he's not wearing his goggles or something, you know what I mean? I mean, the rules are still up in the air. The best thing that we can do is everybody kind of fly safely and don't, have that. There's
Always
two
follow
attitudes.
the rules.
Right, there's two attitudes that I see that gets people in trouble. One is rules don't apply to me, and two is macho. I can do. I'm a better pilot than everybody else, and I can do this because I have some sort of special skills. If you keep those feelings in check and realize that we don't want to ruin it for everybody else.
Exactly.
It only takes one guy to hit a 737, and all of a sudden, all of the freedoms that we enjoy right now go away. So I think everybody gets on the same page. I don't think anybody who's involved in aviation or drones or photography or anything like that is pre-inclined to doing bad things. I think we're all kind of nerdy.
Yeah.
And I think we all just kind of want to get along. So.
What is? Go ahead.
Oh, I want to touch on another thing. Another kind of misconception people get because of how big and popular DJI stuff is they assume like these are capable of a lot of the DJI stuff. So two main things. Number one, battery life. These kind of things
How
because
long do they last?
so you get 3 to 4 minutes of flight with the battery because they're going so fast and it's so light, and you need the light weight to be able to maneuver and do all those flips and stuff. You can't, so you can't have a big battery. So people think it's just hang in the air like a DJI for 30 minutes surveying areas. Like man, I'm getting like 3-minute flights and then I gotta come back down.
I've had 4 of them, 4 DJIs. Now I got 3.
Yeah.
So people that flies these things normally have how many? They have how many batteries?
Oh, like when I go to the field, I'll bring 10 batteries, but it's not like I can just hang out and hide. I'm going
Oh
to
my
and down.
gosh.
I mean, if you show them the angle of that camera, it's not. I mean, if you look
Yeah,
at it,
so like the angle, that's kind of like, so when this is
There's a
level,
camera.
I have to
That's
fly
how it
like
flies.
that. So
Right,
that's, where the DJI is
I
perfectly
see that.
level, but this thing's like, gotta go like this.
Yeah.
And then another biggest misconception is video range. So because these are using analog video, so that we get no delay from the video going from the quad to our goggles, it's very low range. So after about like maybe a football field of distance, like we have no more video. Or like if there's like trees and stuff in the way, that just kills our reception. And we're regulated by how many milliwatts of power we can transmit at.
Right.
Because I think it's once you go like 800 or over, then you need like a hand licensed radio certificate to use it.
Oh,
So
okay.
so like for when we're racing, we actually use very low, like only 25 milliwatts, which is insanely low and bad. But you need that when you're flying around a lot of other people, so you don't pick up other people's video. But for the freestyle, I'll bump it up to like 500 because that's still like within regulation, and it gives me enough distance. But like I said, like if you go like a football field and then there's like some trees, I'll just cut my video, so I can't like go super high up and then go spy. You know, like I'm really limited. It's basically where can I see it can fly? That's where I can fly.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Now you could put a like a GoPro session on top of that thing too.
Yeah, we do. That's exactly.
And that's how
what we
you
do.
get that really good video. Because
Yeah.
really the analog video signals kind of sucks. if you
Yeah,
really
yeah, it's
see
like
it.
800 by 600. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we'll
There's
throw
always-
like a session on there and just like record 1080, 60.
I know somebody posted on our the group.
He works
I'm
here.
like, oh, really?
Nice.
Okay.
You know, the
Yeah, I'm like so surprised. Like, oh, that's a nice video.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else is really cool that I wanted to add in there. If you get your goggles, you're not just regulated to your own drone. You could, if you go find a meetup somewhere and find some really good pilots, you can tune your goggles to theirs,
switch to
and you
whatever
can
channel's
watch
going
them
That's awesome.
racing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to try to
Yeah.
learn from the great people.
So tell me again, what's the relationship between the both your companies?
All right, so basically when I started, Calvin, the CEO of this company, our products were based off like hobbyists. So what you guys are doing now, for example, flying Phantoms, we were serving those people that did not buy the Phantoms. And so we made
okay.
AD1s. And Calvin was just kind of like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to start my own business, but let me help you out. And so he introduced me to some technology, he introduced me to some vendors and all that stuff. And then we used to have meetups every Friday. We called it Friday Fly Day. We actually own the domain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we would all gather, all the drone hobbyists. Back then, there was only a handful of us.
Right.
And Calvin was one of them that would constantly show up. And then so we kept flying every Fridays, and
I'd have been there if I'd known you
yeah,
2 years
yeah.
ago.
And then all of a sudden, the market started shifting, where there's a lot of people that wanted to fly aggressive with what they have, and I didn't want to go that route. And so he ended up opening his own company, and then that's how Newbee Drone started.
Okay.
But I'm always internally grateful for Newbee Drone, because although I started before them, they've done a lot of help for me to actually get me going in the industrial space. And I'm still here. Like today, I'm here for actually an official business. So we work hand in hand on some of the projects that we work with, and Newbee Drone on the back end. They help us out on a lot of the projects. So that's how we're still in relationship.
Yeah, I think we should explain more. You guys should go check out his website, actiondroneusa.com.
Yeah, that's right.
And the two craft that you manufacture is the 81 and
We
the
make the
82.
81 and the 82.
Really cool. You guys need to go check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're even thinking about getting away from DJI, Unique, getting to something that's American made,
Yeah.
and made right here in San Diego, this is what you should,
Yeah, most of our work is based on. So, for example, like big companies come to us. In San Diego, like our newest project is with Caltrans. So Caltrans, you guys know, familiar with them. They are like highway systems and all that stuff, right? So they asked us to solve a problem for them, and then we basically take a look at the problem, and we design a solution around it. It's not just like, hey, here's a drone that should solve it. We actually kind of like talk to them in deeper sense, and then figure out like how to solve their problem.
So almost
I
every
see.
product you put out there has custom sensors, I think you do
Yeah.
infrared.
Yeah.
You do any LiDAR?
We do some LiDAR, so like for example, one of our projects, our global project, so we have two offices, right? So one is in Denmark,
Okay.
and our offices in Denmark is right next to the Siemens experimental turbine areas. So we actually go to their test site, and then we always experiment on, for example, like LiDAR measurements, That's one of them. I mean, and then they basically ask us, is like, but we want to do this to make it easier. And then we rebuttal with, okay, here's the
Right.
technology, let's
Okay.
test it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology. It's not just LiDAR, it's not just RGB cameras, it's not just infrared, it's not just thermal. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
Plus whatever else is coming
Yeah.
tomorrow.
So
Yeah.
everything, yeah, you
Yeah.
guys pretty much do.
Yeah, and-
Mapping and all that.
yeah, and that's why for us, in the industrial sector was a little bit more my route, because kind of that's where I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of solve problems for the industrial sector.
And yeah, I guess you agriculture.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with I mean, everything. Do you do actual cinema film drones as well? Or that
we
market's kind of all
we- yeah,
covered up, right?
we touched on that for like
Yeah.
a bit, like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, DJI's products are so good. We just didn't want to compete with them. And so what we looked at is like, hey, how can we differentiate ourselves from DJI?
Mm-hmm.
So DJI's model is great. I mean, they make a lot of good stuff, and but the
I'm
one
a big fan.
yeah
Hashtag inspired.
right we
In
have
case you want us to send us anything to test.
yeah I mean
At
like
his wonderful facility.
no we have DJI products too. I mean, we use DJI stuff
Right.
for different purposes, but there's some things like that DJI wouldn't do because they need to mass manufacture if they did do something about it, right? So
Yeah.
like somebody emailed me last week. It's like, hey, we need a drone that can land and take off on a boat that's going 30 knots, right? And then so I mean,
Okay.
right? It's not like DJI is just gonna manufacture that and make
Right.
you know
Yeah.
1 million of these units
Mhm.
because that is too specialized, right? And so what we'll do is we know we can tackle that because we've done it, we've seen it before, and so but the good thing for us is that, you know, that's a contract that's sizable enough for my company to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll go after that, and, you know, so that's the differentiator between
I
us
see.
and DJI.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's really interesting. And
Yeah.
again,
That's
seeing you
great.
guys do it.
Yeah.
I have a funny question. I have a fun question. Not a funny question.
Okay.
I have a funny question. Your wife is also part of the company. You work with her closely?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, she got dragged into it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I was
so,
part of it. I was wondering if she had.
She's a great
interest-
pilot.
Yeah, she
she's a
flies
great
drones
pilot.
and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but
She's
She's
what's her
our-
Instagram?
Yeah, what's her
Drone
name
Net?
called?
Action
Action
Drone
Drone
Net.
Net,
Yeah,
yeah.
go check her out.
I
She's
saw
got some
her
good
last night. She posted like it's a lineup. She had a
oh yeah,
Right.
long line
Lineup.
of drones.
drones, yeah,
So are those yours?
yeah, they're ours.
Okay.
But they're used for.
I was gonna ask you to bring one of those, a sample. I wanted to see it. Did you see it?
I don't know.
That was
I
on
saw-
Instagram.
They look small, but they'll fill this table. So I don't know if you want
So it was bigger than that.
to.
Bigger,
Yeah,
the
I
size.
mean,
It
literally.
looks like longer, kind of like
It-
what is that? The new Parrot Anafi.
Right.
It looked like the same size.
Yeah, but make it like 4 times bigger.
Oh
than
really?
that.
It's that big? Oh, I couldn't tell. I didn't know it's
Sorry,
that big.
Perspective is
Okay.
hard.
Perspective is. I can't
I
bring
didn't
that.
know.
So that's cool. Well, I mean, again, that's a lot of guys.
Well, I mean,
That's that's the goal, to find a woman
wife
who
that
supports
gets it.
our
well, I mean,
craziness.
she's pretty supportive. I mean, the way that my company started was I was already into drones. I was building my own stuff for hobby, for fun, and then basically like the more I posted on Facebook or YouTube, then I got like GoPro 1 came out, so I was able to actually put videos out there. Then I had a lot of people say, hey, I want to buy your whatever you're building,
Yeah, what is
right? And I was like, I don't know, because my next paycheck's not coming in, so I can't build more until my next paycheck. And
Right,
so
right.
Right.
at some point she just said, why don't you just start a company?
Mm-hmm.
So I literally borrowed $3,000.
So it was her idea, even.
Well, sort of like
Wow.
so like she basically said,
A combination.
yeah, well, I was really terrified to start my own company. She's the one that kind of pushed me to get it going. But it was kind of her fault that I got into the hobby because I really wanted a piano.
And you brought a drone.
She bought me like airplane parts instead.
I'm
And
confused.
that's kind of like how it ended up. I got into more of the RC, field, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, she knows I love aviation. I went to
Mhm.
ROTC Air Force to become an Air Force pilot. I mean,
Okay.
that didn't pan out because of obviously I'm wearing eyeglasses.
Mhm.
But I,
Yeah.
wanted a new hobby because I got out of work at like 6 and there's still daylight and
You have
I
to
needed
figure
to do
out,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I asked for a piano. She said no because it was super expensive,
Right.
like $3,000 for a nice piano that I wanted.
Uh-huh.
Versus the airplane parts, would have cost like $500 or so. So she picked that, and that's how the company
The
kind
rest
of
is
like
history.
Right.
got into it. And then when customers or people started asking to buy it through Facebook, basically she just said, why don't you just open a credit card, which I did, and then that's how I purchased most of my first material. And then I made 5 of our first 81s, and basically that's how the company started.
It took off
It took off.
after that, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then-
awesome.
Yeah, we're never VC funded, so we're kind of self-funded minus the family and friends that helped us get bigger and bigger.
Nice,
But
yeah.
everything we've done is
That's great.
organic. Like we sold something, we made our company bigger. We sold something, we made our company bigger to where it is now.
Awesome, awesome.
Helping people too.
So
Yeah.
what about you? Do you fly any other drones or you're strictly racing drones?
I have a Mavic Pro. I don't use it that much. Whenever we have little video ideas or something that we need to do advertising stuff once in a while, I'll use that. I've flown Inspire. I've flown the Inspire 2, Phantoms, everything. It's just it doesn't really pertain a lot to the specific stuff I do, but obviously it has its
So
place.
you're really into racing.
Yeah, well, me more
After
personally
the
is more.
adrenaline, after that, it's hard to fly.
Me
Yeah.
more personally is more the freestyle frames. The racing's cool, but it's a lot nicer when you don't have rules and regulations and you have to worry about other people hitting you and stuff in a race and all that. So the main reason I really got into drones to begin with was because when I see these and I'd see the videos people would post on YouTube, it's like, you know, your perspective is right here where the camera is, and it's like you become a bird and you can go fly and do whatever you want. You know, you want to go fly over around this tree, you can do it. You want to go up high, and it's
Right,
like the ultimate
right.
freedom to do. You know, everyone's like dream is that they can fly in their dreams. You know,
Anywhere.
and then you can do it with this. This
Right.
is pretty close. You know.
We're living in the future.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
And the fact that it's like now that it's like a reasonably priced thing. I mean, like think about like with how advanced this is, how expensive something like this would have been like